just for this, 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 just for the nasty. Hey, this is just for this.
You ordered what?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Dean Callan Show. It's been a while. I'm running late again today. What can I say? I'm just not going to bother worrying about it. I'm just going to try to actually build the show while I'm on the show. I had all day to prep today, but I do, fortunately, have plenty of rum, which is a big win. I also have Madeira Wine, also a huge win. So we'll put these aside for now. I'm going to tell a little story because I can't get the video to render. But hopefully you'll get to see it before the end. Right? Now, these guys are absolutely phenomenal. Turn this down. Right, so if you've seen the cover photo, you'd understand. But basically, last week, myself, my wife Electra, and my little son Axel had the good fortune of getting to go to Madeira Island. Now, I was calling it Madeira Island, but the locals said Madeira, so I don't know if it's just the accent. I'm going to keep calling it Madeira. But we went to Madeira Island, which is like 3.5 hours directly south from the UK. You stay on the same time zone. You fly 3.5 hours, but you're in the same time zone. So it's basically like if you made a slice of the planet in the way that you would make a slice of an orange, same sort of thing, but down from here. And it's part of Portugal, but it's kind of its own little island. So fortunately for us, the island being small and being a huge tourist destination, the government have been really good with their COVID track and trace. And, you know, going down there, we arrived and they brought us aside, arranged a test for us. We got a test as soon as we walked off the plane. All very professional. Then when we hired a car, so we used our car to get back to our accommodation. When we got to the accommodation, there was good social distancing. There was like, you know, things in place to protect us. And then we just had to stay in our room for the first 12 hours. Well, it said 12 hours. But actually, it didn't work out to be 12 hours. We were in there for about 6 or 7 before we got a message saying, hey, you know, coast is clear, your test has come back negative, so you're free to check out of your room and go and discover the island, which was like really cool. Like, I have to say, it made us feel a lot more comfortable about being effectively in a foreign country on holiday during a pandemic. Now, I'm watching my computer render all the video. I did the dumbest thing. I built a big video with really big files. If you're into video, I recorded an AVHC, HEVC codec in 422 10-bit, and it's like 170 megabits per second footage. And I've got like 15 or 20 minutes of it, and I've added stabilization to it and put a lot on it and a whole bunch of stuff. And then I tried to export it like 15, 20 minutes ago. And then I tried to build Mitch's Minute, because I always get Mitch's Minute at the last minute, right? Mitch's last minute, Mitch's Minute, which is the best way to do it, right? I basically am watching it with you guys. And it come in, and I've got Mitch's Minute rendering as well behind it. So there's a few tasks there, and I'm hoping the computer doesn't have a meltdown. I'm assuming it will at some time, but I'm hoping it doesn't. Now, without any further ado, let's taste some rum and some wine. I've already tasted these. I'd love to show you the video, but I can't. Next time. We'll watch the video next time. I don't know how to describe this, but basically, this is a gift set, right? I brought back a couple of these. I think they're awesome. Like, look at that. Right, you can buy these. I think it was about £35 or something like that for this little gift set, which is pretty badass, right? And in it, it's got 4 different, like, these are what you would call the 4 typical styles of Madeira, or yeah, I guess styles of Madeira wine. So you have your Cercia, I hope I'm getting this right, Malmsey, the Boal, and the Verdelho, right? Now, if I've got this correct, you start with the driest, or like the one with a little bit more acid, and you move to medium dry, medium sweet, sweet, right? So when you go around on the island, like as a tourist, as I did, I knew nothing about Madeira. And I did have a tasting with Chris Blandy of Blandy's, which was really awesome. He even took us out on his boat and everything. They're really hospitable people. And thank you to Joe Wadsack for hooking me up with that. That was a godsend. We had a really good time. When you go to the island, like if you ask for Madeira, they say, what would you like? And you say sweet, and they give you, a style like this. And each year they do a vintage. I was born in 1981, and last year, or this year I think it was, the 1981 vintage came out. Now, with Scotch whiskey, for example, you make a Scotch, you wait, however many years aging in a barrel until you think it's solid, right? And then you're like, this tastes great, I'm going to release this. Unless you've got a solid line of like 21-year-olds, 30-year-old, 40-year-old, you wait until it's ready for a 40-year-old. It could be over 40, could be 43, 42, but really it's a 40-year-old. These, when they get a good vintage, they make a vintage and then they just wait. And like, I mean, the 1981 come out this year. It's 38 years old before it actually goes into a bottle. And they continue to get better in the bottles. So you can try a 200-year-old Madeira and it still tastes great. Hey, yay! Diogo, how you doing, man? Diogo hooked me up with Mario on the island. Diogo, he showed me around. I had a great time. And check this out. Look at this. I got Madeira Vermouth, which is Madeira Vermouth, made by the William Hinton Rum Company. This stuff, if you haven't tried it, ladies and gentlemen, they're aged in Lisbon fortified wine cask. It was only done for the Lisbon Bar Show. And I think they only did a couple of hundred of them. And it tastes so good. It just tastes so good. This was a bottle they were giving people taste of. And I loved it so much. Mario could tell I loved it. Like, as soon as it touched my lips, I was sold. And he gave me this one, which is the open one that he had left over, but it's all he had. So hopefully when COVID's finished and people are allowed to come to the cabin, there'll be enough of this left for my friends that are passionate about rum that haven't tasted it to come and have a taste. I also bought some rums. I got the aged in whiskey cask. Amazing. I got the 6-year-old, and they gave me as a gift the 600. Right, so this one is the 600th anniversary of sugarcane production on the island. And they have to assume that maybe they were making rum as well. But 600 years of sugarcane production on the island is a long time. That was to celebrate 600 years. And it was only sold on the island of Madeira. So they made 600 bottles, and this is number 382 of the 600 bottles. Only sold to the locals, right? So if you want to get some, I think there's still some in shops there. You have to fly to Madeira and buy it. Now, O'Risenho, I think it's called, is a completely different distillery. So, like, if we put the William Hinton stuff over here, right? And I'm going to taste a couple of these. And let's put the Blandy stuff over here, because this is getting wild, all of this. And then I'm going to taste these Blandies in a moment. And we look at these guys. So this was a special bottle. I'm going to put this away for collection. I probably shouldn't even be showing this. But this was the original name for this rum. And yeah, they got into some trouble because someone kind of claimed the name, right? So we won't go into too much detail there. And they renamed it O'Risenho, which I think, if I remember correctly, because it was a big day of drinking, it meant Little King. And their branding's great. The distillery, I've got a video up. I'll probably show it later in the if it renders this side of tonight, great. Otherwise, I'll show you on the next show. I'll do a follow-up episode. Might have to taste some more rums. But their Portuguese-style alembic stills are fucking awesome. I swore. I'm not supposed to swear. I promised myself I wouldn't swear. The Portuguese stills look amazing. They're really cool. I've got some nice video of him pulling them apart and opening them up. If you talk about craft and artisanal and handmade, this is a guy, right? The guys making this literally sleep above the distillery. The distillery is in the base, like the ground level of their house, and their bedroom's above the stills. Like, that is dedication. He wakes up in the morning, he goes downstairs, and he does everything himself. There's one person. Actually, there's two people. I take that back. There's him and his wife, right? Between them, they're doing the labels, the bottling, you name it, everything. Everything. Every part of the whole process is done on site in their house. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. One thing to note as well, I learned a lot, as much as I could in a day. But yeah, I didn't realize that Madeira Rum, they only produce sugarcane for rum production. And they have to use local sugarcane. And they also can't make rum from molasses. So even if they did, for some reason, start producing sugar for the sake of molasses, they wouldn't be able to make rum with it because they're not allowed to make it from molasses. What that means is there's a cane growing season. When the cane has been grown, and on the island, it's all just a volcano. So they have to cut all the cane by hand, right? Which means it's all hand done. There's no burning things back. There's no big machines that go through and get the cane. And then it's carried up to roads because obviously they're on the side of a steep hill. You can't just, the road's not right there. You have to carry it. So it's really labor intensive and very expensive. I think they said it was something like 30 times more expensive to buy sugarcane on the island than it was anywhere else. It could be 3 or 4, but I'm pretty sure it was like 30 times. So at the end of the cane harvesting period, they mash, they produce, they ferment, they mash, they crush, I guess you could call it, ferment and produce their rum, and then their stills are silent for the rest of the year. So I went there, and it was an eerie sight to see a distillery empty. Fortunately, the guys from Over Isenhoe were doing a contract distillation of gin. I don't know if I'm supposed to say that, but he had the stills running, which meant I could actually see the stills going. And all the stills that I've seen on the island were wood fire stills. So again, crazy, right? Really old school production, but the flavor of rums is spectacular. All right, so I'm gonna do a quick. How did you smuggle that booze? Apparently, I just put it in between clothes. Like, look at this, look at this. All of this. Right? And it's all like 50 and 65% and stuff. There's actually more than this because we've got some for gifts. So, yeah, quite a lot of booze. Now, I'm going to taste these and I'm going to enjoy just how amazing they all are with you guys. So one good thing about Madeira wine, right? Apparently, because of the process of it being oxidized and kind of like they stopped the fermentation and a few other things, there's bits of sugar still left in it, and I didn't really get to absorb the winemaking process enough. I tasted a fair bit of wine. I discussed the history of the island. I discussed what their plans are for the near future, and I'm hoping that if the cocktail community can embrace Madeira, like speaking to the guys from the island, they've noticed bartenders, particularly in, they said, the west coast of USA, picking up Madeira and playing with it and listing it. And as a kind of, as a point that they had never actually gone out and pursued, cocktail lists and things like that. Not like spirit companies would traditionally. So they're seeing their these wines popping up on cocktail lists, And as a reaction, they're starting to get more interested in cocktails. So the conversation I had with them seemed really positive about like, yeah, use it in cocktails, get involved. So if you are out there and you get a chance to play with these, play with them. They taste great in drinks, in cocktails. Right, so that's the wow. I'm getting them mixed up. What have I done here? That's the sweet one. It's a medium sweet. Right. I think that's the way they go. So I'm going to start at the more dry. It's hard to describe. It's like drinking sherry, but they're like almost like where Fino doesn't get any oxidization. These get lows. Going dry, sweet, to sweet, fucking sweet. Okay, right. Cercial, then Modelo, then Royal, then Malmsey. Yeah, that's what I was doing. All right, rock and roll. So I'm right. Happy days. Yeah, it was fantastic luggage work. I'm fortunate that I've got this backpack that's my camera kit, and it's amazing, right? I really want to grab it and show it off. But basically, it's a camera kit, but when you need to, you can unzip the back of it, and the inside padded bit comes out, and then a sheet comes up, and you zip that back in, it becomes a suitcase. So when we got to the airport, one of the bags was 38 kilos. And I lifted up on the thing, and the guy's like, no, man, no, 32. 32 is the max. So I had to, like, convert my backpack into another pack, and he let us check it in for no cost. Thank you, guy from Madeira on British Airways. The guy coming to Madeira charged us £65 for being 2 kilos over the 23 limit. Never mind 32. Anyway, whatever. People of Madeira are nicer people than people at Heathrow. I just don't know what to say. It's delicious. One thing I will note. If you get these and you want to play with them and come up with cocktails, I was on a boat chatting to the winemaker himself, and I pointed out that it's got a hint of acidity to it. And he said not only do they have some acidity to them, but depending on the wine, they have like malic acid and different types of acid that you would expect to get from, say, for example, lime. So they've got like cool different acidities to them, and they balance out because of that acidity. So they're very balanced already, but you know, this one we made like a sour kind of Collins type of drink with it. It was delicious. It was really, really good. I'm going to tell you at the end which one's my favorite. Now, moving to the Verdeo, or Verdelho. Right. Going to Madeira. I tried desperately not to try Madeira before I went, because I hadn't really tasted Madeira before. And I know, having been to loads of Scotch whiskey distilleries and bourbon distilleries and going to check out Gonzales Bias, like I went to Gonzales Bias and the sherry tasted better, right? It tasted so good where it comes from. And I've got this saying, I kind of want to get a shirt made. The sauce tastes better at the source, right? Because it does. If you go to where it's made and you're in the space where you're supposed to be drinking it, where it was produced, it tastes better. And this stuff and these are literally a ray of sunshine, and that's how I feel they taste. There's a hint more nuttiness to this. It's like moving from a grain whiskey more towards like a more full-bodied, kind of almost sweeter, like bourbon or something like that. Now this takes on a whole new. You've got like, it's kind of like wet. How do I describe it? Like a more cereal. Imagine jamming a cereal note, or almost like a brandy, like a VS cognac sort of note into a raisin. I don't know how to describe it. And it's got like a really nice nuttiness about it. And almonds. and walnuts. Oh, this is my favorite. I love it. It's so good. Right, so the Malmsey's the more sweet one, right? Malmsey's, now if you're thinking, if you know sherry and you're thinking like Fino, it's not like Fino. It's more like a Fino end of an Amontillado or something like that. And then you've got your Oloroso styles, and then this one, it's sweet compared to the others, but don't think it's like a Pedro Jimenez like type of sweet. It's not. It's its own type of sweet, because I think they still retain some acid in there. Awesome. I love them. I can't believe I've not tried this before. So, Blandy's, super old school family, 7th generation. They come over from England. They went to Madeira. They opened up a winery and have been producing ever since. Chris Blandy, the guy I met, super lovely guy. He genuinely was interested in my point of view of these, coming from a spirits cocktail background. And they were really like sweet and nice. Like I don't know whether someone gave them a heads up before we went to meet them. He did say he like called one of his cousins that works in the bar industry and asked, "Who's this guy?" Which was kind of cool. Put some effort in there. But they seemed really lovely. They were great hosts. And the guy, Chris, his cousin, worked at the Savoy Hotel. So when I showed that I was in Madeira, the bartenders from the Savoy all got in touch and they were like, "Oh, did you get to meet John? He used to work with us." So, I mean, you don't have people that are career hospitality people that are like, "Oh, when you went to the island, did you meet John?" Like, unless John was a good guy, right? If he worked in the hotel and he was a knobhead, they wouldn't have reached out and said, "Go meet John," right? So, lovely people, lovely wines, got to try them. I'm going to go back and get more. I'm saving, unfortunately, I won't be opening this. I'm saving this for my 40th birthday, which is in just over 12 months. Right, so, this guy. I love it. Now, there was a moment, I'm going to try to show you on this video, right? If there's anybody watching, I apologize if this doesn't work, but it's worth a try, right? It is definitely worth a try. Let me see what this does. Alright, it stays the same. I'm going to unlock it, and let's see if I can choose file. Let's see if I can do this live. Okay, so what I'm going to try to do is play a video. I basically killed the big render, and I just quickly put some chopped up bits of it into here. Some of it won't even have audio because I figured it would save me time, but I'm going to play this video real quick, and if it works, I'm going to speak over the top of it in a little mini screen. Oh god. Whoops, it applied at the beginning. Oh man, what am I doing to myself? Right. Yeah, that was quick. So that was the outside of the building. You've seen the wine cask. This is the moment that myself and Electra realized we were being joined by Chris. And Chris is like a bit standoffish. We're all trying to keep our like social distancing thing going. I hope you can still hear me. And like, look at the setup, right? So you've got the 1980 there. This is Axel, my son, on their boat, playing. Look at that. Like, right. And this is my favorite restaurant on the island. It's called A Vista. Look at this. Look at the view. Right? And that's us. Now, this is after we'd already done the wine tasting. So now I'm allowed to drink Madeira. So we're just sitting on the coast of Madeira. Like, and the water there is 24 degrees in the ocean. That's the ocean, right? If you go out that way, you hit Africa. The next stop is Africa. And on the other side of the island, the next stop is America, I think. Or the Caribbean. Depends. Yeah, the Caribbean. The next stop would be the Caribbean, I think. Right? So it's pretty badass. And those cliffs, they're high. It's just a sheer drop, and you're sitting there having lunch. It was pretty epic. I'm not gonna lie. It was a sort of
And then
needed break.
what else
Check
would you
this out,
recommend
though.
to go with?
Look at Axel, right? He's 14 months of adult, pretending to be like us. What would you like, Axel?
Axel, do you know what you want to order, buddy?
Butch.
We asked your. Oh no, actually, we get the ravioli.
He pretends he's a full adult, and look, he tries to talk to the guy. Oh, blah 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 blah. Right? Talk about happiness, right? This, every moment of being on this island put a smile on my face, and I think genuinely waiting to taste the rums and the wines on the island, the sauce being better at the source. It puts a smile on my face because that's my memory of the space, right? Now, I'm going to keep this one, the Bois. I don't know why, but I fell for this, right? This is my favorite. Now, they do a 5-year-old, they've got the 10-year-old, and then they go up. Like, when I say up, they go up. If you're a person that collects collectible booze, buy some Madeira, right? You can go to the island now and you can pick up a back catalogue of like 1920s Madeira, 1980s, 1970s, 1960s, 1950s. They've got all these vintages. Now, the wine doesn't spoil. It gets better in the bottle. So you don't have to be concerned about it going super bad. In fact, I heard a story of them opening a 300-year-old bottle and it just needed a few days to breathe and then it was back, right? Which is just mad. Like, it's absolutely mad. But I remember a time, a long time ago, when I could buy for about £150 a 25-year-old Macallan, right? And this was back in the day when they were all like Spanish oak in the old school. Like, those bottles are worth a ton now. You have to pay a fortune to get anywhere near any of the old vintage Macallans. But this, I kind of feel if people realize how good this stuff is and how long it lasts, it might start getting snapped up. And if that happens, you'll be kicking yourself for not going and buying a whole bunch of it now. Right, so, rums. Now, this is the stuff of legends, right? So I have to have a little taste of this. I want to also point out that the white rum is at an affordable price, 45% ABV, and it's hard to describe because it's not like an agricole, okay? And I told the guy who produces this, because he wasn't expecting me to turn up with a massive camera. I told him before I put him on camera, which is why I didn't show the distillery in that short video. Before I put him on camera, I'm gonna let him know what I'm putting out, you know, out of respect for him. So maybe the next time there'll be a video, or I'll do a separate video of Madeira. But this stuff is delicious, and I wanted to kind of go through just how good it actually is. In my head, and when I say craft, like saying small batch, small distillery craft is not doing this stuff justice. It's like literally a guy and a still, and he's actually fermenting and making rum. He's cracking the canes, the juice is running out. He's doing every part of the process. Joe, we'll figure it out with the COVID regulations and stuff, but I can put a small amount of all of these, including the vermouth is amazing. The vermouth, it's hard to describe, but it's kind of like, it's fruity and fresh like a Barolo Chinato or Vinho Chinato. And the Madeira comes through with just a hint of bitterness and a hint of spice. They're letting the wine be forward rather than making it like, you know, wormwood forward. So this, you get loads of fresh green. It's like imagine the difference between grass that's been dried out and fresh cut grass. That aroma. This is like fresh cut cane, just perfectly distilled into a liquid. And it's not you know, rum agricole has that particular smell to it. This is kind of more like fresh and sweet smelling, and it's got a hint, rather than like the French rum agricole styles that you would think. It's got a hint of that raw Ray and Nephew sort of a smell to it, without it being like pungent, if that makes sense. Without it being specifically Jamaican. It's delicious. And the aftertaste as well. At the front of your palate, you get this like oily aniseed flavor, and I think that you might get that from, if you've ever had a cane juice, you get that green taste, that super green grassy taste. You get that super green grassy taste that you can only get from actual cane juice, and then this seems to have distilled the green note into it to the point that it's verging on a green fairy flavor of absinthe, which leads me to think that a nuclear daiquiri with this stuff would be just mind-bogglingly good. Unfortunately, because I've been away for so long, I don't have the drop of citrus or sugar or anything in this bar. So I think I'll pick back up and do a Madeira episode 2. Show more of the videos and make an actual daiquiri with this. It's just delicious, full of flavor. Now, contrasting, very contrasting flavor. This guy, right? This is raw and I want to say honest. This is honest as well. This tastes, I would say, having only tasted the rums from the 2 different distilleries, that this would be the island's I guess premium or luxury rum. For the age of the distillery, because they've reopened it after closing for a while, and the amount of time they've actually got this stuff in wood, it's really punching above its weight. And when I say punching above its weight, I don't mean, they're not worthy of the flavor that's in there. What I'm saying is, if I told you single column distillation with basically effectively a thumper, and then aged for 6 years in ex-American oak, you're going to be like, meh, you're not going to think it's anything special. But the distillery, and they weren't able to really give me any information back on it, is 650 meters above sea level, as far as I remember. If I remember correctly, 650 meters above sea level is like almost the height of Mexico. Mexico is like 1,000 meters, I think, above sea level. But that's a long way above sea level. And it's just a sheer cliff on the side of an ocean. So they're getting all sorts of different weather patterns coming through, running over the top of what is effectively a volcano. And that means that not only are they distilling at altitude, but they're aging at altitude. And when you see the video of the distillery, they've got their boiler over here, and it's all wood fire. If I stand in this position, about 3 meters that way, or about 15 feet that way, whatever, you've got their wood fire boiler. The same distance over here, you've got the still. The still's a couple of stories high, right? But if you climb up to the top of the still around the scaffolding, you go up one more level, and the roof hits a concave in the center, and that's where they're aging the barrels. So they've got their cane crusher, they're receiving the cane and they're crushing the cane up here, they're fermenting it just over there, right? And then the fermenters and the crushers are below the warehouse, and then there's the still house. I mean, every part of the production, the whole process, apart from the marketing team, is in that building. And then the entire marketing team, brand ambassador, tasting, everyone that's working out all the logistics are a stone throw, literally a set of steps down and in the next building on the same site. It's insane. And they're producing rum that's of world-class, amazing quality. Right, so this stuff, I'm gonna chew through these real quick and give you some comparative tasting notes. Or do I leave some of them for later? Man, it's so good. It's just so good. I love this stuff. Right. So, of the three here, I'll give you an idea of what to expect. I am not going to open the 600 year. Because you never know. With that sort of stuff, that collectible stuff that's never going to happen again, especially when it's a gift, I think I'll hang on to it and either open it for a special occasion, like, you know, if someone that cares more than I do about rum, I'm not saying I don't care about rum, but there's people that are obsessed with it, comes here and they absolutely love the distillery. Or if I hang on to it for like, I don't know, 10 years or something like that, and people don't get to taste that sort of stuff anymore, and then I open it, it'll be a special occasion. Right, so you got the 6-year-old. I'm missing one. Yeah, I'm missing one. I'll have to check all the bags. So here you have the 6-year-old. Now, interestingly, little note. On the island, apparently, if I'm remembering correctly, because I said it before and I'll say it again, it was a big day of drinking rum and poncha, which we'll pick up in. I went to Madeira, Volume 2, when I find my actual poncha stick. So yeah, big day of drinking rum. Apparently, the ages on the bottles in Madeira can only be 3, 6, 9, and you know up. So if you've got a 7-year-old, you can't put 7-year-old on the label. It has to be 3, 6, or 9, or 12, then 15. I don't know how it works, but that's what I was told. So they have to. That's a 7-year-old now, and they have to wait until, you know, even the 8-year-old will still be 6-year-old because of the naming system. Pretty crazy. Hi Gabby, how you doing? Alright, so one thing I have to note. There is no sugar added to these. They're not trying to hide anything, they're not trying to add anything, they're not trying to adulterate it in any way. Not that that's necessarily a bad thing. I've tried loads of rums that I absolutely love that have a hint of sugar to them. But one thing I will say is that you get that. You can taste both the rum character coming right from the still, and you can taste the straight up wet oakiness of the wood, right? And some of it tastes a little like new wood, and there's a nice balance to it, and there's actually particularly nice astringency, so it leaves your mouth with a full flavor but dry. Like, there's no residual sugar left on the palate. So if I was going to say, you know, if you're going to mix a drink with this and it wasn't going to be sipped, old-fashioned. Like, an old-fashioned with that, or I can't remember the name for it. I think it was spring punch, where you, like, drop a dash of cloudy apple juice on the top of it or something like that. Like that in an old-fashioned, just bring the sugar up, bring a little bit of bitters into it. That's all you'd really need to do with it. Now, this one. So this one is one of the single cask finishes. They're going to do loads more of these, and I got a sneak peek of a Isla cask one. Man, it was amazing. It was so good. Like, so a treacle. Bam. Adrian, thank you. It was treacle. So Hadrian, I asked them about who are their suppliers, and I didn't recognize the supplier when they responded, but I will chase that up. For the next episode that I do on the Madeira stuff, I'll try to get the ambassador on, or someone from the company. I was planning to have someone else on the show today, but they weren't able to do the show, so at the last minute kind of cancellation, hence the running a bit late, I just decided to go with all the Madeira stuff, right? So I don't know who the supplier is, but the supplier does supply Madeira wine and stuff like that already. So there's a wine supplier. Joe might have a better chance of tracking down who's supplying this at the moment. But honestly, if you want a sample, Like you literally know where I live, but I'll try to separate some out for you and get it to you safely without running into COVID issues. But this stuff here is delicious, and you can taste the whiskey in the background. It feels like in their single cask finishes, they're finishing it in a whiskey cask, or finishing it in an Islay cask, or finishing it in that case, I can't remember the specific name of the Portuguese wine, but that cask, it feels like they're putting it in for the finish, and they're letting the flavor from that cask be just imparted into it enough that you can taste it, but you can still taste the rum, and the rum's still the forward thing. Like that particular William Hinton flavor is still forward, and then taking it out. So it's really well executed. So I thought I would try something. I'm going to try the vermouth again, because like I said, it was a big day of drinking. Now this stuff, it really surprised me. It was like taking Madeira and like bringing it back a little bit. Now, if I remember correctly, the wormwood used to make this vermouth, and this is available in London, from what I understand, it's available in the UK. The wormwood used to make that vermouth is a type of Absinthium wormwood, whatever, that only exists on Madeira, or it's native to Madeira. So it's its own wormwood, which makes it super epic. And the spices that they use to come from the island. But what they've done is they've slightly fortified an already like quite strong Madeira wine can get up to 21% ABV, an already quite strong wine base, and then given it just enough bitterness and just enough like spiciness that it makes it a vermouth, but it's Madeira first, which is really interesting because you don't see that a lot. So I am going to make a drink with it in my new glassware. You see that? I went and spent a ton of money on some of Remy Savage's new glassware. Look at this. Ooh, sexy, sexy. The nudie glassware, look at that. I had to have them. I had to have them. Remy Savage, I'm a massive fan of Remy Savage. And like the thing is, like, I might be getting old, right? Like, when I say getting old, I mean, I was bartending before Remy Savage started bartending. And I think, I'm pretty sure he's much younger than me. And I remember going to France, and like Remy was starting out in the kind of broader bar world, and I was like, this guy's talented. And everything I've watched him do has been just like perfection. I love it. I love everything he does. So I'm a massive fan. As much as I'm a fan of Dale de Groff, and the old school bartenders that I grew up kind of idolizing, I'm a fan of some of the younger guys like Remy. So I got all his glassware. I'm gonna play around with it, and I think this will be the first actual legit drink I've made for myself in this glass. I did make a drink for Remy's competition because I wanted to support as much as I could. Not that I think the drink's going to go anywhere in the competition in the real world, but it was definitely worth supporting. I'm going to try to chill it, and then when I finish this one, we'll be all wrapped up. So if anyone has any questions on any of these rums or Madeira. Also, it was like, I looked into it, and in January, it's about 19 degrees in the water in Madeira, right? So I don't know what the temperature is, but because it's so close to the equator, I have to guess that it's warmer in Madeira in January than it is in London. And return flights, if booked now in January, were like £150, right? And that's with checked luggage, because obviously I'm checking luggage. But without checked luggage, it was even cheaper. So I'm kind of thinking, if we got a few bartenders together, we could probably organize a trip where, because of the, shared expenses of things like taxis or cars and, accommodation packages and doing tours and stuff, people would take us a bit more seriously if there's a few of us. Might be pretty awesome to go and visit in a couple of months when it's the coldest of cold in the UK and it's a sunshine paradise down in Madeira. Right, so what am I going to make? I know what I'm going to make. I'm going to make like a Rum Manhattan or a Palmetto. Right? I have to. It's my favourite. Start with a couple of dashes of Angostura bitters. And I might use the wine cask. I think I'm going to be fancy. I'm definitely going to be fancy. I have to be fancy, right? So I'm doing 2-to-1, but I'm going to be doing 60, despite knowing full well that 60 and 30 is too much to fit in that glass. I'm going to do myself a little sidecar on the side. And then 30. Oh, I didn't even get to use my new... Where is my new jigger? God. I might put... should I? Hold on. No. Ooh. I kind of want to put... I can't help myself, but I really want to put a dash of maraschino in there. I know it's going to taste great. It's got a very specific taste to it. And again, I don't have citrus, so what to do? Cherry. Cherry garnish, no twist. Alright. And that has been me getting back into the swing of things. It was amazing to get down to Madeira. I took a lot of footage, as I have done over the last couple of weeks. I'm trying to kind of improve the quality of some of the videos that I cut to. Speaking of which, right, as soon as I've strained this out, I'm going to try to get Mitch's minute back up. Right. Yeah. Let's see. Yes, there's a cherry. Happy days. Little hint of that cherry jizz, which I love. I'm not gonna lie, I love it. It's good. And then, oh wow! I'm not gonna lie. I thought that glass was considerably smaller than what it is. Got a chunk of cherry jizz on the inside of there. Right. I hope this tastes good. I really do hope this tastes good. Oh, what am I going to do if it doesn't taste amazing? Right? Oh, actually, now that I think about it, there's a second drink I want to make. It's really good. I like this glass. Remy, you've done a good job, mate. It's delicate, but it doesn't feel like it's going to break in your hand. That's good. Right, let's cut to this guy. And let's look at... Right, we're going to cut to Mitch's minute. I hope it works, but...
Madeira. My first interaction with Madeira was Madeira and Coke. The Rambling Rascal house band is called the Madeira and Cokes, but I want to say it was Andy Penny that gave it to me first. So I probably didn't hold it in the highest regard until Mike Capaferri up in Thunderbolt here in Los Angeles. And he's from Atlanta in Georgia, and Georgia has like a rich history with the wines. So when he told me he was going to have a Madeira focus, I always thought that was kind of strange. Obviously, that's one of my favorite bars, not just in the city, but in the world that I've been to. So I've had the opportunity to try a lot. Mike knows a lot about the wines. Mike knows a lot about anything that he's into. And the thing that probably stood out for me most was how much finesse and how dry a lot of them were that I hadn't really thought. But it's just another example of showing that you don't really ever know much about anything until you do.
Right, so that was Mitch's Minute. You really don't know anything until you know, right? I mean, unconscious incompetence, conscious incompetence, it's just all you don't know until you know. I love that. I want to start making t-shirts. Does anyone know where I can get t-shirts made where the first t-shirt's not going to cost £100? And that it's printed properly and it's not just going to die on me? If you do, please send me a message. I want to get t-shirts made in the UK. But I want to do 1 or 2 of the t-shirts each time. So do I need to learn screen printing? Maybe. I don't know. Right, so let's wrap this up with right. For those of you that got to see the last episode, and anyone that's actually hung on this long, if there is anyone that's hung on this long, I know the average people watch it for 3 seconds. But if you watched it for this long, Joe McCanta has created these sodas, right? And I'm not going to lie, the Coast thing, I thought the Coast thing in the back of my head was nice, but like a bit of a gimmick, you know? And like, yeah, cool, Coast, you like the Coast, and you want people to envision the coast, and you want to take care of the coast by investing back into coastal programs that clean the coast up. And then I was on Madeira, and I was having Madeira and soda on the coast. And you remember that video, where if you did watch, right? But basically, there's a video, skip back, and go out to the side of the ocean, and there's just the cliffs of Madeira, just with nothing but the ocean, right? And in the next episode, I'm going to make a different drink, but this is my coast of Madeira, and I hope that I get to go to enough coastal towns, right? And it's served up in another one of Remy's glasses. I'm hoping I get to enough coastal towns where I can actually create a mix of, one of the coast sodas, and this is maple soda. I've gone sweet, right? Sweet and sweet. But I'd love to just like go to as many beaches and as many cliffside coastal spaces as I possibly can, and then find the local spirit, like whatever's distilled close, and then the coastal mixer that matches that, and be able to escape for a short moment to that coastal space. And this is the coast of Madeira. I would put an orange twist in it, but I don't have any orange. Oh, I wish there was someone else here to taste this, just so I don't look like I'm blowing my own trumpet. Oh. Thank you for watching. Until next time.